Hey, good morning and welcome to Content Line Podcast number 3. This is David G. Ewing, and I'm really excited today to talk to you about how customers who've had Oracle Content Management can migrate to Content Line. And we have a lot of guests today, and it should be pretty exciting. So I'm super excited for you. If you have been someone who has been trying to centralize content and you came across the promise of Oracle Content Management and were like, this is great, but found out that Oracle is pulling the plug on Oracle Content Management in about 1 year, then you are in the right spot because we are going to help you keep your journey going and your march to the promised land of unified published content that drives ROI for you is not going to skip a beat because of Content Line. So what's really cool is today, the day we're recording this, is in December, and it was December of 2023 when Oracle made the announcement. So we are almost to the day, 1 year later, and I'm so excited that we have a company that is funded, that is built a product that is going live, that can help you migrate from Oracle Content Management and not skip a beat. And I want to say to Oracle, wonderful job supporting us guys to make sure that we together take care of all of these customers who have Oracle Content Management, because it has been that partnership that really allows us to do everything that we've done. So let's go ahead and get started today and talk about that. And so for those in case you missed it, we did a previous podcast with Rusty Shelton, the author of Authority Marketing, where we talked about why content matters. We talked about the ROI that you get if you have great content. We talked about how Black Rifle Coffee went from 0 to 400 million solely on the back of its content management strategy. We talked about how Keller Williams totally upended and became the #1 dominant real estate company in America, overturning Century 21 and everyone else through its content. And content has the chance to change the game. So if you missed that, go back and watch that and get a few tips from Rusty. In our second episode, we talked to Chris Stone, who is the general manager who built Oracle Content Management. And we talked to him about his history. He'd been the co-CEO of Novell and all the cool things he'd done with Eric Schmidt and his entire career, which led up and into Oracle's content management product and the essentials that make content great, which haven't changed between Oracle Content Management and Content Line. The essentials of what makes content management work are there. And Chris, as an advisor, has been really wonderful in helping us make sure that Content Line can deliver for you. So today, we're really here to talk about how you migrate, right? How do you get out of Oracle Content Management and move over to something else? And we think that something else is Content Line, but whether it is or it isn't, you're going to learn a lot of valuable things about how to migrate and what it means to migrate out of Oracle Content Management. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. The thing that we know you need to cover is you need to figure out, what the heck do I do with all of my assets, right? You might have videos and images, blogs, podcasts, all the custom things that you developed in Oracle Content Management, and you've got to now pull those things out, sometimes in multiple languages, some with many, many versions in them, and put them someplace else. You then have to take all of your sites that are being hosted by Akamai through the connections with Oracle Content Management, and you need to move those somewhere else. And the third thing is, if you're using the headless APIs for content delivery for a mobile app or for a portal or for some third-party thing that you've gone off and invested and built, you've got to now migrate that to some other place and connect that content somewhere else. Those are the things that you're facing, as well as just maybe taking a fresh look at your content management strategy and your common model, which is a lot of what Chris Stone talked about the last time. So we can start to address all of those things, and we're going to talk about that. But I have some super cool guests today that we're bringing on to give you guys a chance to see, what does it take to make great content management. So the Content Line development team is here. They are all some pretty wonderful people. Let me do some introductions. So we've got 3 of these guys here, and then Cassie, my co-founder, is here as well. And so let's go ahead and do this. So first up, is Bogdan Ristic. Bogdan has got 4 years of experience doing infrastructure and DevOps. And he's spent 1 year with SmartCat, the development partner for Content Lion. He's a passionate problem solver who likes designing resilient systems, which is really important for us, and making sure that workflows are optimized and processes are optimized for the teams he supports. So, Bogdan, you want to say hello real quick?
Yeah, hi everyone. It's very nice to be here and cannot wait to see how this unfolds. So super happy with Content Plan.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Bogdan. We're really glad to have you on board. Also, we've got Madia Govek here as well. Madia is the co-founder and CTO of SmartCat, and he's got over 2 decades of experience in software engineering. Not only is he the founder of SmartCat and around Apache Cassandra Consulting, which you're going to explain to me, Madia. I don't know what the heck that is. But you took that expertise and turned it into data engineering and machine learning. And then you start working at FireEye. Is it Mandiant? Is that how you pronounce it? Mandiant? Yeah, Mandiant. And then Google, and then coming back to SmartCat. Quite a boomerang experience. So, Madia, super excited to have you here as well.
I'm excited as well. Awesome to see great people and work on some really interesting products. And this is how we got here.
Nice, nice. All right. And also with us, our final guest from SmartCat is Dan Militic. Dan, I don't think I've ever said your last name. Is it Militic? Is that right?
Yeah, it's Miletic.
All right, Militic. All right, there we go. So Dan has got 14 years of engineering leadership under his belt, and he's architected systems that millions of users, that power millions of users. And he's also mentoring all the developers that we're working with. And he's the respected tech lead that's navigated both startups and enterprise environments. And he brings a wealth of battle-tested experience building high-performance engineering teams to this. So Dan, we're really glad to have you on board as well.
Thanks, David.
You're welcome. All right. And then rounding out the crew is my fellow co-founder, Cassie Paul. Cassie's here to chat with us as well as we talk about how to migrate and how things work. But Cassie, you want to say hello?
Hey everyone, we're so excited. We have been working really, really hard to get to this exact moment. So I'm thrilled to be able to tell you a lot more about what we have prepared for everyone and then talk a little bit about what wave one's going to look like. So thanks everyone for joining today.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Cassie. You're a great co-founder. All right. So let's talk first about a couple of technical things. Knowing that our audience is content management people, content marketers, and we want to really make sure that we school you guys on some of the things that you really need to look at when you're migrating off of OCM. And the first one is whether you're migrating to Content Lion or something else, you've got to be thinking about performance. And so my first question for Dan, Madia, Bogdan is, talk to me about how does somebody understand what performance is? What does performance look like in Content Lion? And if someone were to migrate somewhere else, how do they get a measure for performance? What does that look like?
That's a great question. So one of the reasons why we architected and designed Content Lion as it is today is because we wanted to solve some of the performance challenges that the other products have. One of them is the amount of, for example, the amount of digital assets you can have and handling large amounts of digital assets. And of course, serving those digital assets through any means, whether it's through some of the APIs to your mobile applications, whether it's through your websites or sites built through Content Lion, we want to be able to scale to meet the customer demands, but also be able to optimize for cost so that the infrastructure needs to support the scalability of the demand, but also be able to optimize. And one of the ways we solve this is by utilizing some of the bleeding edge technologies, trying to make this system scalable from the ground up. And all the design decisions were built around that. So in the end, what does scalability mean? Scalability means that we can serve the content to our customers and the end customers as fast as possible and in a manner where they don't have to wait for it. They don't have to wait for the loading of the website or loading of the assets, but also the asset management needs to be scalable. So from that perspective, we try to cover both the customers and the operatives in the content line ecosystem to have really good experience, but also have the capabilities at scale.
Awesome. So let's talk about like what that looks like for performance. So I'll use a hypothetical example, maybe one that that we can all identify with here. Let's say there is a Cuban cigar company, right? And this Cuban cigar company is thinking that maybe there'll be a change in legislation and Americans would be able to buy Cuban cigars, right? So they've got websites, they've got articles, they've got all this content, right, about their wonderful Cuban cigars. What does performance look like for them, right? The day that customers could buy Cuban cigars, what would that look like for them, and what do they need to be looking out for in that situation as it relates to their content?
Yeah, first I gotta say it's definitely a dream. I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon, but let's
we
stick
could
to
just
the
put that
tech
out there.
problems.
Let's put that
Yeah,
out there in the
so the
universe.
thing is
All right.
that if you have any type of digital asset serving from the website, or even having any type of e-commerce website, um, the content line can scale so that it can meet the demand. So what does that mean? That means that the dynamic scaling of the underlying architecture with the performance services of the content line can actually meet the demand of this e-commerce, where whether they have 100 users, whether they have 100,000 users concurrently on the website, we can scale content line to meet the demand, and this happens seamlessly and totally transparent to the end user, which means that they shouldn't see any change in the performance, which is pretty good from the start. So I would say that if we go the route of having one of our customers have a lot of end clients, that's a good sign, but we can also scale to support that.
Got it. And so talk to me a little bit about how that works behind the scenes, right? So suddenly a site that's normally used to having, I don't know, 1,000 people hit it an hour suddenly goes to 10,000 or 100,000 people hitting it per hour. What's Content Line going to do that is going to let it hit that kind of scale? What happens? Do we just have a bigger server?
No. So the
no.
thing is that yeah, we're using some of the technologies that allows us to scale horizontally. That means that we can bump up the concurrency of the system, and we can scale horizontally depending on the need. But also for our operational cost, we scale down once the need drops down. So that way we can optimize for performance and cost.
And that's called auto scaling, right?
Yes.
Cool. And so yeah, so we are able to auto scale our services. And so talk to me a little bit, because customers are going to hit their content management system with different needs at different times, right? Sometimes loading content is going to be really important, right? They're going to have lots and lots of content, and they're going to want to ingest and dump that into repositories really fast. Other times, it's going to be about serving content or publishing content, or maybe someone's going to call from an API and have mobile users, right? And during some part of the day, that mobile usage is going to really peak and then it's calmed down. How does Content Line defend when things are coming from so many different directions at once? How does it do that?
Yeah, maybe I can jump in here. So
Go for it,
basically, we're using like Mattia said, bleeding edge technologies that allow us to utilize their content delivery networks, which means basically that if you're the end user and you're, let's say, in Asia, you will access Content Line through the place closest to you, and it will be cached there. So each time you want to access it, the first user might have a little bit of a slower network connectivity, but every time they want to access the same thing, or actually the same platform next time, it will be cached at the closest place to them. So the content will be very fast globally, wherever we have the content delivery network set up.
And since the delivery networks around the world, you're saying, like, if I'm in France and I'm starting to access Content Line, unless I'm the very first person that day to access something, it's already pre-cached and kind of ready for me without I didn't have
have
to
to
do anything to make that content like cache
not
like that. That's just
not
automatic,
that
right?
day, not that
Yeah,
day ever. If you're the first
ever.
person ever to access it, yeah. Because that cache will be basically at the closest location to you, to France. For example, Frankfurt, let's say in EU.
Mhm.
If you try to hit it up from France and we don't have let's say a network directly in France, we will hit to the closest network to you, which could be, for example, Frankfurt or any other zone where we're located.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So yeah, so we push to all these different edges and we can help customers just make sure that they are getting something that is just physically, geographically nearby, right?
Exactly,
And
exactly.
yeah,
Basically, if you're trying to access something that's very far away and you don't have a CDN, it will take just a longer time for that content to travel over the internet to you. But in this case, it will be cached locally, so you will not go to, let's say, US to access it, but you will go to France, which is, or Frankfurt, which are like the closest locations to you.
got it. Got it. And yeah, and then we also auto scale each section independently, right? So if your website's getting a lot of traffic, that scales up. But if you're working with our digital asset manager, does that have a different scaling set of properties, or how does that work?
Basically, if you have one site and the demand is higher, you will have more sites. If the demand is higher for our platform, our endpoints, APIs, they will scale as well. Basically, if we have one API and we need more of them, we'll just create more of them. And
Automatically.
exactly, automatically.
Automagically. I like that even better. All right, that's awesome. Cool. All right. So then, okay, so we can scale and we can scale the different parts of the system. And anybody who's looking for a content management platform ought to be asking these kinds of questions, right? And trying to understand how do different parts scale and what happens and depending on their specific loads, right? So whether they're going to have peak loading of content at certain times, or if they're going to be having delivery or performance, or how that's going to work. Um, help help somebody understand security though. Like what's somebody need to know about security, and how do they know that their content is secure, whether it's content line or something else? How do they know that?
So that's always a topic because whoever uploads any type of their, let's say, digital data, they want to be able to secure it. And right now we're going through the process of achieving the SOC 2 compliance, but everything has been built from the ground up with some of the standard security practices in mind. All the customer data is encrypted at rest in transit. All the data is segregated that it's only accessible by the owner or the users that receive the permission to access certain data points. What that means is that I'm the owner of my data and nobody else can access my data unless I want to. So I think that's also a really valuable thing to be able to have a security of your data, but also be able to share it whenever you want to and with whoever you want to. And that also helps the collaboration significantly.
Now, is security a place where we ought to get cocky and brag about like how great and secure content line is?
I would say absolutely not. But just by the real life experience, I think everything's susceptible to attacks. But we're going to be doing the best we can just to make sure that the platform is secure. You can read about security breaches at different levels of company sizes and security teams. They're getting breached every single day. It's all about how interesting you are, but at the same time, there's a lot of things you can do to prevent some of the low-level attacks or some of the simpler attacks, and just have your attack surface reduced. But also, what we're doing is logging and monitoring. So even if we see some activity in the system, we can notify the people on call, react, or even pull the plug and make sure that our customer data is safe.
So stay humble and don't get cocky and always be vigilant and, kind of continually evolve our best practices so that we're always at the forefront of the industry in terms of making sure that we're doing everything we can, knowing that, hey, no matter how smart you are, there's hackers out there and they potentially could be smarter. So we just have to constantly stay on top of this and be humble is
Exactly.
what I'm hearing. All right.
Exactly.
So no bragging about security. Just keep it focused and keep it going. All right. Let's talk about user experience. So what have we done with Content Line to make it seamless for somebody who came from Oracle Content Management, is used to doing things in an Oracle Content Management kind of way? What have we done with Content Line to try and help them make it easy to use?
Yeah, so basically the Oracle Content Management System beneath use the Redwood UI, and it has a really nice user interface that we adapt and implemented in Content Line. So the things are placed on the similar places. It have a look and feel that is already familiar for the OCM users. And the reason why we done that is to make transition as smooth as possible. On top of that, we introduce a few caveats and improved specific user flows just to make things going easier. And that is that.
Yeah. So, okay. So you said that we've gone ahead and we've tried to make the user interface similar. Walk me through Redwood UI. How hard was it to use Redwood UI, and why did we pick that?
So Redwood UI have specific components. They can be put together as Lego cubes for build the graphical interfaces, basically. So from that point, it was easy for us to use the same themes and integrate it into the content line. So we can create that smooth transitions, feels, animations, and etc.
Let's take a look actually at Oracle Content Management, talk about the UI, because this is something that people could definitely see and recognize, right? So here, for example, is Oracle Content Management. This is the Motive instance, because we've been a customer of Oracle Content Management too. And you've got this kind of cool panel over here that slides out, and it's got everything in sort of this idea. So yeah, so if you want to come to assets, for example, in Oracle Content Management, here you go. Here's the asset section, and you can start to see all of your placeholders and images here for something. Now let's take a look at what we did with Content Lion, and lo and behold, like here it is, right? I mean, here's that same panel off to the side, and very, very similar capabilities and functions for the things that you need to know. So from a standpoint of like what we're thinking it's going to be like for a customer, why do we think this is important? Like, why is it necessary that we would want to be able to, see everything in kind of the same way that we would want to see things in Oracle Content Management? Why is that beneficial?
I think I can chime in there.
Yeah.
It's obviously really important to, as much as the technology and everything that we've talking about around security and performance is really critical, this is also a really big disruption to the human side of the business. And there's all these business processes that teams have developed that are, based around them being really comfortable with the tools that they have, and interjecting a brand new tool that's a little bit unfamiliar. We wanted to really make sure that the experience for the Oracle customers who are coming over here, that it's really seamless on the human side of things, and that they know where everything is. It feels really familiar. They're walking into a place that they feel like they've been before. And it's based on a lot of research and time and energy that Oracle put into developing a really intuitive graphical interface that works well with all the other front office suite that a lot of our customers, this will fit in as a small piece of. So I think that was a lot of the strategy behind why this was a really important choice for us.
Yeah, cool. I think that makes sense. Yeah. And one of the other things is that people who used Oracle Content Management, used a product by Oracle. They trailblazed their way through this. And so they had some performance gotchas that we sort of found as customers. What have we done with Content Lion to alleviate some of the performance gotchas? And how do we know that we're actually, potentially doing an improvement when you're thinking about, gosh, this is what I used to have with OCM. This is what I have with Content Line. How do we know that it's either apples to apples or maybe even slightly better?
Yeah, so the thing that we are doing in Content Line is just comparing apples and apples by introducing the system tests that have a lot of benefits to our system. One is to prove that our system is stable. Other is just to run the smoke test and ensure that everything is running smoothly. But on the other side, we can also test the performances, simulate the real example of user loads, as you spoke at the beginning of our talk, the spikes, whether the 1,000 users hit our servers or 10, we can simulate those and get some numbers, how responsive our system is. Then after that, we can run the same tests to Oracle and then compare apples to apples and see how well we are performing and where we can improve. So basically, the short answer is by running the performance tests and compare the outputs.
Now, it's always kind of tricky to run performance tests because we're comparing, production Oracle content management against our system. Not quite exactly the same, but we're doing the best we can. What have we seen in terms of those numbers with that disclaimer out of the way? What have we seen so far?
So far, we've seen that we are performing much better than Oracle, especially in the field of creating new resources like channels, for example, where our performance is around 5 to 6 times better.
Well, that's pretty encouraging. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. So yeah, we'll
one,
see if
one
that
thing to
keeps
bring
up.
up here, sorry, Dave. One thing to bring
Yeah.
up here, and this is probably going to be interesting to the customers, is that OCM was initially built as a single tenant deployment where you had the scalability component being vertical scaling. So probably getting more resources to that single instance, and that's about it. Content Line was built from the ground up as a multi-tenancy system with horizontal scaling in mind. So we can't exactly compare it like a instance to instance, Content Line to OCM, because one is limited to scaling and the other one is scalable from by design. But from what we're seeing and the numbers we're getting is from a fairly limited resource deployment of Content Line, meaning that we're just scratching the surface. Now, I think it would be probably interesting to the future customers if we can publish some benchmark numbers at different scales of Content Line. That would be interesting to see, and this is definitely going to surpass anything we can get from the OCM. But at the same time, it will be interesting to show that to the customers, like, hey, yeah, we did design it to be scalable, but it's also backed by some numbers.
That's great. And yeah, I think that's fair. And that's an honest way to depict this because, yeah, we don't want to try to fool anybody, but we just have designed and architected a fundamentally different way with SaaS, which I think is really, really cool. That brings up another point, which is, we asked you guys to do some really interesting things related to SaaS, and we invented some terms like savannas and dens and mains. And maybe you guys could walk through what does all this stuff mean, and why would customers care about it? So what is a savanna, a den, and a main? Come on, you guys could do this.
No one wants to touch the lion puns.
All right, how about everybody take one? So Bogdan,
I'll let Bogdan jump in.
Yeah, you're voluntold to tell us about savannas, man. What's a savanna, and why should customers care about that?
Okay, yeah, cool. So basically, a savanna would be, let's say, a region where Content Line is available. Maybe that would be the most understandable way to represent a savanna. So basically, we could have a savanna in EU Frankfurt, for example, and we could have a savanna in US West 1, US Ashburn, wherever. And that's a place where our customers could create their mains. So I will hit it off to Dan because he seems eager to explain what a main is.
So one thing that I want to talk about before Dan talks in main. So we're built on top of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, right? So if Oracle has a region somewhere in the world, whether it be in London or Frankfurt or Tokyo or Ashburn, Virginia. If they've got a region, then we can take our entire deployment
System
of
and
our
place it there.
SaaS, yeah, our whole SaaS deployment, and we can put it there, and that's what we call a Savannah. So that's what a
Yeah.
Savannah is. So okay, so we've got a Savannah. That's like our whole content line. Essentially, it's like our company. We just have multiple clones of it all over the place. Dan, what's a main, man? And
So
this is MANE, main. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
so main is a thing that is logically separated inside the Savannah. So in order to create a main, firstly you need to choose Savannah. And when I say logically separated, that means that inside one Savannah we can have multiple mains. And also that is the one thing that Mattia mentioned, our whole system is multi-tenant. So inside main, if we compare it to the OCM, we would say it's a OCM instance. In our system, that is a main, the logical separated place where you can create your repository, put your content, create sites, publish them, and or a lot of other interesting things.
Got it. Got it. So the way I like to think of it is if a Savannah, and I'm going to totally mix metaphors here, but if a Savannah was an apartment building, right, where it's got a lobby, a gym, and it's got everybody's, apartments in it, then a main is like one apartment, right? It's like I can access the public space when I'm going to an apartment building, and then I've got my space, right, which is for me. And a main is like that. A main is like your house. It's where you get to put all of your users and your content and your sites and everything else. So what we can do is we can give you the ability to pick from multiple apartment buildings, right? We've got our Ashburn, Virginia site. We've got our, which we call them Savannahs, but you can do that. And then you put a main down and that's your site. And you can have more than one, right, Dan?
Yeah, that's the correct metaphor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Choose
So
the
the
building,
Apartment building full of lions. What could be
apartment buildings full of
sweeter?
lions. Sure. That makes total sense. Yeah. Love it. So yeah, so that's pretty cool because what we're trying to do there is if you're a global company and some of your data has to be in Europe, right? Then you can have that content in Europe and you just spin up a main there and throw all your content there. And if you have to have some content in the United States, you spin up a main there and you put that content over there and it's in the United States. And so and if you can live with all your content in one spot, well, that's fine. You just pick one and put all your content in one place. But that's it. Okay, so that's a
I
main.
think I think this is
Yeah,
a perfect time to explain it then.
Yeah, it is a perfect
Basically,
time.
yeah,
Madia,
yeah.
talk to us
Yeah,
about
definitely.
dens,
I
man.
wanted to
What's a
point to Kim
den?
as well.
Yeah, I would say that den is a logical grouping of all the client's environments, which are mains, but the den is basically a client account which can create multiple mains in different Savannahs. So we want to be able to assign an entity to a customer, but then also give them flexibility of creating multiple mains, even in the same or different Savannahs. So that way the customers can choose where their content management is, where their content creators are working on some of the digital assets or the sites. Because in the end, it doesn't matter if your main is in Frankfurt or Ashburn or anywhere else in the world. Once the site is published, thanks to the content delivery networks, the user experience is going to be the same. But the reason that you already mentioned, why we want to be able to be in different regions is because of some of the data privacy laws, some of the different customer requirements, but also if you have a workforce of content creators working in the US, they're probably going to have a little bit better user experience for content line if they work on a main that's located in a US region Savannah. It's not going to be a huge difference going to Frankfurt, but I think it makes more sense for a customer to have that co-located with their content creators.
Very cool. So let's go through an example. So Cassie, on that desk behind you, is that a Ferrari?
It
Is that what that
is.
is? All right, cool.
Lego
So
Ferrari, so you could go two
Lego.
ways with the branding here.
All right. Well, let's start with Ferrari first. So like Ferrari, let's say you're out there, Ferrari, and you want to join Content Lion. We'd love to have you. you could join, sign up, and get an account. And that is what Maria said. That's a den, right? So we'd make a Ferrari den, and that's just for the Ferrari team to go into. And then Ferrari might have a whole bunch of stuff they want to do in Europe. So they got video of Ferraris doing cool stuff, and they've got customer testimonials and other things, product drawings, anything they want to, any of their digital content. So they might want to keep that in Europe. So, then what Bogdan was talking about, they'd go to our Frankfurt, Savannah, and they turn on a main and say, all right, let's put all our users in here. Let's put our, we'll build our site out of here. We'll build all this stuff. And then they'll publish it to the CDN and it'll be global. And if that's all Ferrari wants to do, Ferrari's done, right? They've got one main in Europe. But if Ferrari says, gosh, we have a whole team in the United States and they really focus on a different part of Ferrari, and we want them to have their own logical separate instance of content, then we'll turn that on in Ashburn, Virginia, and that Savannah, and we'll turn a main on there. And then Ferrari, all the US users could be using that one. So that's kind of how that works. Now, question for you guys. If I'm a Ferrari user and I have access to both of them, do I have to go to two different sites to log in?
Well, no, you will have a central place where you log in, and basically from that central place, you can navigate to any of the domains that you actually own. So
Cool.
basically, you'll have one login page where you navigate to the rest of your content management systems, aka mains in this case.
Nice. So I log in one spot, I can go to any spot. That's great. All right,
Yeah.
cool.
And it's
All
worth
right.
mentioning that this is a net new feature compared to the OCM, because OCM is different in that matter that each customer has its own instance. They're leveraging the OCI's IAM. Here we wanted to centralize the user management and den management and also main management. They have permissions so granular that we can have main specific permissions for each user, and then for each user to have access to mains assets. Each asset has different permissions for different users or groups, but it's all controllable from a centralized point, which makes the user management easier.
Nice, nice. And that gets us to migration, right? Which is kind of the last topic we want to talk about. So to get someone to migrate out of Oracle Content Management to Content Line, walk me through the process, guys. How does that work?
So in order to move your content from Oracle to the content line, we try to do that as seamless as possible. So the first thing that somebody should do is to obviously create the main, to choose where his content needs to go. And after that, we will need a URL of the Oracle instance, where from there, he will need to authenticate himself. And we have the automated process that will automatically migrate all the stuff. By the stuff, I mean the sites, the content types, repositories, assets, pretty much everything that is in the OCM.
So I'm going to go through the process right now. We'll see if we can mess around with this. So the idea is that I would log in, and if I have the authority, I could come to the migration area and I could click start a migration. And then I've got to know two things at this point, right? Like, what are these two things? I've got to know every Oracle Content Management URL is different. So you'd have to know, this is the one for Motive, for example. You'd have to know that. And then you have to go get a token. Now, is it hard to get tokens, guys?
So it's a manner of calling the specific URL and copy pasting it.
Yeah. So that's it. So, okay. So I can do that. I just bookmarked, I put that in there. I'm going to press the start button and let's see what happens. So what's going to happen here is it's going to spin up and, oh, lo and behold, here comes the migration. And yeah, it's going to start running. So what's happening when this thing is running? What's it doing right now?
So behind the scenes, firstly, it is collecting all the metadata regarding the files, different types and everything that is located on the OCM. Also, it is counting the numbers so we can give feedback about the progress and start migrating things into the specific main. And as we talked previously, main is located in some region. So behind the scenes, we will copy everything. That is the export part that we are doing, and then we will start importing things into the content line with the end goal that we will have everything in the content line that can be added and further used.
Excellent. So, all right. So all that's happening now. When this is done, about how long does it typically take, roughly? What should people think? Is this like an hour, a half a day, a week, a month? How long does this migration process roughly take? And I know it's going to vary depending on how much volume and content somebody has, but what would you guys say?
Yeah, it depends a lot about how much content we are moving, but usually it's done in days or less than days.
Days, less than
Yeah.
a day.
Less
So yeah,
than
so I've heard people thinking about like a migration process taking about 6 months for other solutions if you have to do all this stuff manually. But we've got this down to, it may not be one day, it might be a half a day, it might be a couple hours, depending on, you know, how your things are, or it might be just over a day, but it's not going to be 6 months, is it?
No, definitely not.
No. And it's certainly nobody's doing anything. In fact, here we can see this is a 35 gigabyte instance of content management. And so we're bringing 35 gigabytes over of about 14,000 files. So we'll start to see how this goes, but it's just beginning the process. So pretty cool, because that's it, right? I mean, now at that point, you've got all of your assets, every video, every blog, everything, it's all in our DAM, right? Same repo setup, same all that. And now walk me through what else gets migrated over. Like, what about my sites? What are we doing with that?
So regarding the sites, you will need to compile your website firstly on the OCM side, and after that, it will be migrated into the content line, from where you will be able to preview your website, and after that to publish it so the end users can see it. Also, that process of migrating is a matter of days as well. It is not a process as it's currently for Akamai for 30 days. So it is pretty fast to basically migrate and then set the website to your domain.
Yeah. So you could have your site up and running as soon as you migrated it over, correct?
So
you do the change your registration settings, and now boom, your site's up and running, and you're running as soon as you change your registration settings with the migration. Do I have to do a separate migration, or is it just this migration?
No, you just do this migration, and you can assign a vanity domain by changing the entries in your registry, and you're up and running. So you can pretty much do everything on your own. There's no need for third parties or any dependencies on anybody else. Once everything is migrated over and the site is published, you can start pointing your domain to that website, and you're online.
Awesome. And so I guess my last question on that point then is, let's say someone has built a really cool mobile app, and this mobile app is making calls to different channels from OCM. So they've got it all dialed in, they've got tokens and channels. And so when somebody publishes something in Oracle Content Management now, it flows into their mobile app. What are we going to do for customers like that? What would they do instead?
So currently in the OCM, they will use the delivery API to pull all the data that is published on the different channels, right? And in order to make a seamless transition to the content line, what we done, we took the same signatures on the API calls. So it would be just a matter of changing the URL in the mobile app, and down below everything should work as the same.
So you're saying that if I make a call to say like, hey, I want to get a video from a particular channel in OCM, I change the URL to the content line equivalent, and I'm going to get the same structure back. I'm going to get the same kind of ideas. I'll get the same everything that what I would have gotten for my OCM response, I'm going to get in my content line response.
Yeah. That's the logic that we are following. And also, as we previously talked about comparing the performances, that is the way how we can do it. We are just switching the URL behind, and we can hit either content line or OCM and see how everything performs. And that is the idea for the future SDKs that we will have as well.
So the good news for customers who are switching over is that really the cost of switching, the cost of updating all that development is really they just probably want to swap, test, and deploy. And that's pretty much where they're at, right? Like they don't have to do a complete rewrite. They don't have to throw away all their code. If they just do that test, they're pretty much right back in business. Is that the intention?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no change to the mobile, let's say mobile app logic. There's no change to the code, except they're going to be hitting a different endpoint. Everything else is going to be the same. And this was a design decision because we wanted to make sure that the existing OCM customers can migrate to Content Line and then seamlessly move their mobile applications or any type of application they developed to Content Line without any code changes.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. All right, great. Well, guys, thank you so much for everything. We've talked about scalability, performance, security, user interface, Oracle's APIs, migration. Hopefully, I think a lot of content managers who are out there, whether they're thinking about Content Line or something else, they've got a wealth of things to consider as they move forward. So thank you guys for taking the time to come on, explain. I recognize that maybe coming on and talking about what you've done is not the thing that you guys love to do the most, but I appreciate it and I'm really, really grateful. So thank you. Stick around, guys.
It was a pleasure.
We got a couple more things going on, but what we want to talk about now is, hey, if you've seen all of this, we are at the point where Content Line is ready to go. These developers who all lead teams of people who have been working for this past year to get us ready for this moment have been really wonderful. And so let's talk about that. If you are interested in using Oracle, or if you're interested in Content Line and you are either migrating or you're just looking for a place to go, Cassie, what's the game plan here? How are we going to offer Content Line, and what's this going to look like? Help me understand this.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we are going to do is we're going to sort of roll things out in waves. We have our initial wave, as you've mentioned in the past couple of podcasts here, is coming up. And it's really important, David and I both have come from the professional services world where making sure that we're taking good care of the client experience is critical. So we don't want to do too much too fast with the team. So we have capped the number of companies that we're bringing on in each wave. Because we already, work with a lot of OCM customers, there's a lot of interest. We have some verbal commitments. So I think what I would tell everyone is, we want to build momentum. And to do that, the wave one is going to get the absolute best, sweetest deal that we have in terms of pricing. And as each continuous wave rolls out, it's still going to be a great deal. It's still going to be a really phenomenal product with a lot of the incredible features that these guys have talked about in terms of, comparing to where you're coming from in OCM. But this wave one is our most, this is us getting that snowball rolling. So this is our big offer. So I think that registering on the site to show interest that you want to be committed in that wave one would be the next step.
Got it. And so people have all kinds of questions. How much does Content Line cost? Even for wave one customers, if it's a smoking good deal, like when are they going to learn about that, and how can they start to figure out like whether they want to be a part of wave one and like what the benefits of wave one are? When are they going to learn all of that?
Absolutely. Everyone's super excited to hear all the details of the offer, and 'tis the season for all of that with the holidays and everything. So tomorrow we're going to be what we're calling opening the shopping cart, and that is going to be the offer that everyone's going to see. So you really, really want to make sure that you are on the list so that you're registered on Content Line. You can go to LinkedIn, you can go to our website, and you can register so that you are one of the first ones that opens that email, and you'll see all of the details on pricing, offer for wave one, and you'll have all the details you need to sign up and make sure you're in the door first.
All right, great. Well, guys, thank you so much for all the instruction on everything that can be done with migrating and trying to understand scalability and performance. I think for a lot of content managers, a lot of people who have used Oracle Content Management, they're kind of trying to figure out like, where do I go now and what do I do? And so I think that this has been really great, and I think that we've been able to kind of help everybody. We are now 24 hours away from releasing Oracle Content management's replacement, which will be Content Lion, and the Wave 1 customer benefits that will be coming for Wave 1 are coming in 24 hours from the release of this video. So thank you, SmartCat team. Thank you, Cassie. I am really excited to work with you guys on what's coming next. So stay tuned. And until then, may your sharp claws snatch leads, and may you pounce quickly to convert those leads, and may your roar echo through the marketplace. We're done here. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you at the offer. See you guys.